Hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this month's Rotary meeting. My name is Jessica Phelan. I'm a professor at Kankakee Community College, and today's presentation will be on bilingual education. Some of the things that we will address or discuss today, first of all, the history of bilingual education. I'm going to share with you some things that you might not have known. Also, I'm going to talk about local K-12 opportunities. Maybe you are unaware of what opportunities are locally offered through our public schools. And lastly, I'm going to discuss the importance of bilingual education. Now, maybe you knew this or maybe you did not, but bilingual education is really nothing new. In fact, in the United States, going all the way back to 1839, Ohio became the first state to adopt a bilingual education law. This authorized the languages of both German and English to be spoken in the classroom. By the end of the 19th century, there were a dozen states that had similar laws or rules regarding bilingual education in the classroom. You might find interesting that languages such as Norwegian and Italian and Polish and Czech, as well as Cherokee, were often taught in public schools. But if you love history as much as I do, you probably have thought, well, that makes sense because of the massive amounts of immigrants that were coming into the United States, as well as moving Native Americans off of their soil to reservations and then using, American type schooling constraints in order to educate them. So again, when you think about it, bilingual ed is not anything that's relatively new. We've been doing it for a very long time. There was a transition period, though, in U.S. history, and if you can think back to the era of World War I, you had a lot of anti-German feelings. Thus, the idea of teaching German in schools fell out of popularity. There were a lot of fears about if you taught German in the schools, that was being very anti-American, and the goal was to Americanize these groups. So instead of retaining your identity when you would come from another country to the U.S., the goal was to make you an American. So therefore, bilingual education kind of fell out of popularity in the late teens, 1920s. Some school districts and areas went so far to ban the study of foreign languages, but fortunately that was considered unconstitutional and was struck down in 1923. Then the Bilingual Education Act of 1968 did change things. There was another growing era of immigration. Also, the civil rights movement is kind of coupling with that. This provided federal dollars or funding to schools and encouraged schools to incorporate strategies and methods involving the native language instruction. Most of the states followed the government's lead, enacting bilingual education laws and decriminalizing the use of other languages in the classroom. So if you think back historically, that would make sense as well. We've seen bilingual ed in the 1800s, and then the immigration wave, and then the anti-bilingual kind of wave as a result of World War I, and then the resurgence again in the 1960s. Now locally in our area, Kankakee School District 111 has a very well-structured bilingual program. So if you know of someone who's in the program, or if you have friends and family who are part of District 111, this might not be news to you, but it could also be very new to you. So again, in District 111, they offer a transitional bilingual education program, and this is a method of instruction where it enables non-English or limited English-speaking students to enter into this mainstream as quickly as possible. It's pretty intensive. You can either be full-time or part-time in this program, and this all depends on the student's proficiency in English. And so those levels are evaluated by trained professionals before the student is admitted into the program. The student's home language is utilized, and this is the major vehicle of instruction. And the emphasis gradually changes over to English as time goes on. And then once the student is very proficient in English and they can function in a standard classroom, they're no longer going to use the home language as a tool for learning. And a lot of studies show that this transition takes about 3 years. So within the 3-year period, a student should be able to transition from their native language to the newly learned language. Now, bilingual education is important because it really builds on the skills and the strengths of the English language learners. And, English language learners that receive instruction in their home language progress in concept building and understanding the content at the same time as they're learning the English language. So it's almost like multitasking in a way. So they're able to advance intellectually, but they're also able to learn a new language at the same time. The main objective for the ELL students is to experience seamless transition, so from the bilingual service to the independence in the general education classroom. That is the goal of District 111, to kind of encourage the students to hold on to their native language, but also grasp or learn a new language as well, but still able to achieve academic goals with the rest of their peers. I want to thank you for listening to my presentation on bilingual education. As we reflect back, there's a long history of bilingual education in the United States. Many classrooms use multiple languages to transmit information, so this is nothing new. The Bilingual Education Act of 1968 really brought about change and also federal funding to help establish and maintain programs in bilingual or alternate language education. Locally in our area, District 111 offers a comprehensive program for those who are new to the United States or where English is not their native language. And the goal is to help those students transition into the mainstream. Again, thank you for listening.